In this video, we're going to take a closer look at the accelerate method, just so you have a clearer idea of what's going on. Okay, so let's jump in and have a look. The accelerate method here has two principles that you will need to you don't need to understand it, you know this, but using the word accelerate is something that we don't really talk about when going backwards, so when we're in reverse. And it's important that we know that when we look at this accelerate method, we will be checking to make sure whether the car is going forward or backwards, and this will then determine if we are plusing 5 or minusing 5. So let's kick this off. The first thing we have to do is check if broken. You understand that enough now that we can put that in there. We're going to break this down into two parts where we will accelerate forward and we will accelerate backwards depending on a conditional. So the first one is we'll obviously have to go if, and I'm giving this to you because, again, I want you to complete this project, so the coding part of this project, so that you can do other parts, because coding is just a small part of a project. So it's really important to me that you don't get stuck or give up, because I want you to start, do, and complete all the tasks that I'm giving you so that you will have a rounded experience of what it's like to do a personal project. All right, so gear, so we're going for gear. And of course, if we're doing this stuff, it's always self.gear. But again, I want to leave some things for you to do so that at least it's a little bit fun. So if gear is greater than, less than, I'm sorry, I can't remember what the greater than sign is. Hang on, sign. Okay, it's that way. Okay, that is correct. Greater than 1. Okay. If it's greater than 1, we need to speed, and then it's plus equals 5, right? And of course, the thing we want to do then is check gear, okay? So that we can check. Now, there's always a debate, and I remember when we did this at uni in our foundation year, I remember sitting there thinking, now, do I want to check gear here, or should I be checking gear down here? Because if I check it, if I check it in here, we're going to have a problem. And I want to tell you this so that you don't get stuck on this, okay? If we check gear in this location, it means that we have to pass in, where's our check gear, change gear, sorry. When we change gear, we always have to pass in a gear, right? But if you notice here that this one has a default value of forward, which means that if we were to do it here, it means that if we didn't pass in reverse at this time, it would then say selected gear equals forward. And if the car is going 30 kilometers an hour, if the car is going 10 kilometers an hour in reverse, and then we suddenly check gear down here, we will put the car default into forward. And if the car is traveling at speed in reverse and we by default put it into forward, our logic will break the car. And so what we're allowed to do here is that this is saying if the car is going forward, check gear. Okay, so it's really important that we narrow down the check gear to only when the car is going forward. Now, if the car is going in reverse, there is only one gear in reverse, and that was changed when the car was requested to go into reverse, which is here. The car is requested to go into reverse, and from now on, while the car is traveling backwards, or so if the car is going backwards, so if gear is equal to 0, we will never have to check gear again. There we go. So once the car is in reverse, if gear, we should let me just write this down now. If gear is equal to 0, because we don't need it to be greater than or less than anything, the reverse gear has a single value, where a forward gear has many values. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Okay. The reverse gear is equal to 0 and always 0, which means that all we need to do now is go speed minus equals 5. Okay. And we never have to check the gear because the car will always only have a reverse value of 0. Now, what we can do is we can make this even better, right? We can make this easier to read so that we're not dealing with numbers. And what we can do is we can just use the variables. So if gear is greater than or equal to forward. Okay, and same here. Okay, so that it's easier for somebody else to read, so that is English. And then we can go reverse. Okay, so if gear is equal to reverse, we minus our speed because we're accelerating. Okay, and I know in real life acceleration in reverse is actually positive numbers, but we're using negative numbers to represent in this that the car is going backwards. So it's going into a negative speed. But, you know, if you actually look at it, it's not negative speed. It's just that we're facing the wrong way. So that's sort of, yeah. Again, I'm getting too technical, so I apologize, but I hope you can understand. So reverse equates to negative numbers, and accelerating forward equates to positive numbers. And as you remember in our sort of like conditional, like in our conditional videos, again, conditionals, because I keep thinking of like if, you know, the car has a max speed of 80 and it cannot travel over 80, and it has a max reverse speed of minus 15 and it cannot go over 15. So the car won't brake, it just will not travel any faster. So you have to make sure that too. So now that we've accelerated here, we need to make sure that those conditionals have been met. So maybe we can do it separate here. So again, it's up to you how you want to do it, but let's go if speed is, I guess we could go, let's just go greater than or equal to. Again, you probably don't need to because you'll have this under control. So if we're checking this every single time, the car will actually never go over 80 kilometers an hour because it only goes up by 5. So we can actually just say if it's, anyway, let's just leave it like that. I'm not going to complicate this. So let's just go 80. Okay, and then all we want to do then is go speed. Whoops, gotta remember that. Speed equals 80. Okay, so every time it goes to 85. Okay, and so that's what I meant, is that you can just go if is equal to 85 because it'll equal to 80. And then when it is plussed again, if speed is equal to 85, lower it back to 80. You know, but for however, we will just make it so that it's a more of a, I forgot what it, oh my god, God, I hate being a retard. Sometimes I wish I was smarter, guys. Okay, and then of course it's the same way. If speed is less than or equal to minus 15. Actually, we don't even need to make it that. We need to make it, there we go. There we go. That's, see what I mean? I'm an idiot. Is equal to minus 15. There we go, okay? And so what these do is these just correct anything that goes over the speed. Okay, and again, I've kind of given you that. If you wanted to make it a little bit more like sexy, if you wanted to, you could go max like that equals 80, min equals minus 15, and then you can make this nicer to read. It also means that if you wanted to change it, maybe you now wanted to make it that the max speed is 100, you can just run up here, you can scroll up here and just change this figure, and all your conditionals in here will be updated. It is a great way to be able to deal with things like that. Now, hopefully, your teacher or whoever is teaching you online to Python, that they're teaching you that as well, which I believe they will. I believe you're learning this. Okay, and so that is accelerate. So let's end it there and move on to break.